you want to be the greatest of all time. And like there's a debate in basketball about who's better, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and all that stuff. But I think that what all those three players did is they were the greatest version of themselves.
Absolutely.
So, that's what we should strive for. Go try to make some music with AI. Go try to do some art with AI. Because doing all these things helps you understand it better. When I go from making music to I go to making, code, I understand how the models work.
Who says tech can't be human?
What's going on, Hacker Valley fam? Welcome back to the show. This episode, I got a treat. I got a treat for everybody because there's someone that's been hooking me up pretty much my whole life with knowledge, tips, tricks, introductions, and has paved the way for me and many others in the cybersecurity space. My special guest for this episode is my brother, Marcus J. Carey, the principal research scientist at ReliaQuest, author. I have his book right here. We'll drop it into the show notes. We're going to talk about it a little bit as well. And just an all-around hacker and a great friend and mentor to many in the game. Marcus, you've been on the show before. Most importantly, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, man, I appreciate you, man. It's always good to see you.
Always good to see you. Always good to hear from you. When you were writing this book that I have in front of me, Hacker Inc. Mindset for Your Career, I was asking you, how'd you write it so quick? And then you gave me a tip that has changed my entire workflow when it comes to creativity, writing, expressing ideas. So I want to just start by planting that seed and allowing you to take that wherever you want with your response.
I tell everybody, I'm like almost like, I guess you call it, what do you call it, like an android or cyborg? That's what I am right now. So I've been using AI and everything in my life. And I've been, even that book, I wanted to I try to help people get jobs and stuff all the time. And what's funny about that is that what happened was Renee Brown, and Renee, actually, I met Renee through you.
Yep.
Funny enough. So Renee does a lot of recruiting. So I always hit her up and kind of say, okay, what's hot? What are people hiring for? This, that, and the third. And because I want to know how I can help people. And so we both got together and said, hey, people need some help. People need some guidance. And we said, okay, we're going to do this book. So Renee, this is funny how this book went down. So Renee, I've been using AI I've been dictating I use OpenAI a lot, and I just dictate to it. And that's kind of like my workflow now is I have a lot of stuff in my head, but I sometimes I don't have time to write. So if I'm walking or have some spare time, I'm just throwing ideas into it, summarizing long things, just dictating to it. Like, I got this idea. And this is why I love AI, because back in the day, I would have to be a rich executive to have somebody follow me around and dictate stuff in my head. Right. And so how that book came about is, Renee had, she was like, hey, we could do a book together. And that's what ended up being the book. So the process went like this. So Renee does a lot of boot camps online and stuff like that. And she has this whole curriculum that she does and to help people get jobs, right? Help people update their resume, all these different things. When I was saying and people are worried about AI, is AI going to take our jobs and all this other stuff? I said, well, actually, I think AI can actually help people do all these things, right? And this is kind of like a proof that it's pretty amazing, because what I did is I kind of laid out a blueprint for how that book would look, and I dictated it with AI. Also, what I did is I took, Renee had she did a 5-day boot camp on LinkedIn for free. I took that, transcribed it, right, with all her tips. And then Renee and I had 4 hours of phone calls. We scheduled a couple of calls. And so we pretty much went over the outline, and we talked through the outline, and we talked about what do we think about the particular subject matter, right? Combine that all into, and then I let a combination of OpenAI and Claude, at the time, Claude 3.5 Sonnet, because it actually is really good at writing long prose, to actually combine all our content that we had, like all the content she had, all the ideas in my head on how to help people, And also what's a trip is I teach people how to use AI in the actual book itself to help their career. So, and that's how we actually quickly we wrote that. We actually did that book in like a week with the assistance of AI.
Just off of hearing that brief workflow, that changed everything for me. Like I just mentioned, I started dictating everything. Like when I go on walks now, especially with the built-in voice memo app on Apple now, and I'm sure it's the same for Android, the transcription is just part of the workflow. So like you could just take a voice memo, clear your thoughts, and maybe that's a great LinkedIn post. Maybe it's a good blog post. Maybe it's just something that's going to be great to share with someone else one day. But then when you told me about using ChatGPT and Claude, that's when things really opened up for me, because you were talking about using two features, custom GPTs and Claude projects.
Yeah. So I can go over that too. And so still in love with custom GPTs. And so the custom GPT I showed you that's kind of hilarious. And I've been telling people about this is I'm actually creating myself as a GPT. And so everything I write, any kind of outputs and outcomes that I create, even if it's the assistance of AI, I know that that's me. And that's the concepts I want to create. So I actually started compiling all these into like a big document that's like me, right? So I have a GPT that knows everything about me. It's a private GPT. I mean, it doesn't have anything like socials or any kind of banking information like that, but it knows where I was born. It knows my family. It knows I was in the Navy. It knows what I did in the Navy. It just knows everything about me, right? And so I can and so this thing is so good now because I've been doing this for like a year now, and and it knows everything about me, and I could get it to do most tasks for me. So, for instance, if I say, "Hey, I need to do a CFP for a conference," I can just say, "Hey, I need a CFP for a conference." I can talk to it, right? And I kind of showed you this workflow.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm thinking about doing a talk about this, and the third. Can you write me a abstract and all that stuff for this talk? And it knows everything about me. It knows my AI research. It knows I can code. It knows I did cryptography in the Navy. It knows everything. So it can create those things so super fast for me. Or if I want to write a blog post on something, I can dictate it. Plus the stuff it knows, even if it's new, it actually can reference other stuff that I know.
Right.
I have this thing. I downloaded all the Audible books I read, and that's funny too because now I can reference any book I've ever read.
Ooh.
Right. And like it's just so much stuff. And like I reference hip hop all the time, so it'll throw in a hip hop quote or it'll quote Marvin Gaye or just it's like really at this point it's like my persona. It's that persona is kind of like me.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like in the real world, like when I had my company, I had a operational specialist and assistants that worked for me in my company. They could help me churn out stuff fast. I worked for Rapid7 at one point. And I was at one point I was like the media spokesman for Rapid7. So if you look up Marcus Carey and Rapid7, you'll see me getting quoted all over the place. Well, they had an internal comms person that could do all those quotes for you, right? And so, like I said, for $50 a month, like you don't have to have some kind of crazy run rate of hiring a whole communications and marketing team just for yourself, right? Now, this doesn't mean that you can't know something because a lot of people is like, well, AI is doing everything. No, it's the reason why the output is so good is because the inputs are good, right? It's because I know all this stuff, and my outcomes are going to be better. So I always, and people like, oh, are we going to have to forget about learning and forget about incident response and like on the cybersecurity front? No, the more you know, the better.
Exactly.
Because now you can actually create prompts and build systems that are actually going to take the right inputs because you know the right inputs in your head. And this is one of the first things because Ron and I, for everybody out there, me and this guy is always learning. We always we're on Coursera or Udemy or whatever the courses are. I mean, I studied machine learning, doing all this stuff. This is a continual process, right? So I remember Ron started at Cisco. When I first met Ron, he was studying Cisco, but he knew internet networking. And so you stack and you stack and you stack. Now I know networking. Now I know how to hack. Oh, now I know how to code. Now I know how to do this. I remember when I was 17 years old, we was sitting down. I was helping them learn Linux, and we was talking about Python, and we're doing all that stuff. And 20 years later or whatever that may be, here we are. And 15, 20 years later, however long we've been knowing each other. But the point is now we take AI and put that on the top of all that we know, and it's crazy. It's freaking nuts. And so that's the whole point. Like in Renee, and for instance, the book you referenced, Renee knows that inside out.
Yeah.
She knows inside out. I know I've helped a lot of people get jobs. I've hired a lot of people. I help people prep for interviews. I know all that stuff. And so for me, people are talking so bad about AI. I always feel like they talk about my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? I keep catching feelings, man. Like, I be getting offended when they talk, oh, AI slop this and AI. I'm like, bro, AI is a tool, bro. And like, if you, it's garbage in, garbage out, just like any other computer system.
Mm-hmm.
And so y'all just using it wrong. If y'all ain't using it right, fam, if y'all got a problem with it, you just not using it right. And I know this from my day to day. And my day to day, I'm at ReliaQuest, where I just do R&D and build stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We are getting crazy outcomes with AI on the cybersecurity side.
Oh yeah. And
I see people, crapping on AI. And I'm like, bro, like, just because people are producing crap products and FUD and all this other stuff doesn't mean that you can't leverage the tool to do good stuff.
Exactly.
And that's why, like, I'm helping it's helping write books. It's helping write blog posts. For me personally, right? It's helping me write code. Like, even, bro, like I don't know how more fast, I'm so much faster now because I'm using AI to write code. And I'll tell you, like, a long story short, how I got here, right? I've been talking about. This is the funniest thing ever, right? I'm gonna go back in the history here, Ron.
Let's hear it.
Because me and Ron always talk. We always talk about what's the next move and this and that third. Like back in the day, Ron was living in Silicon Valley. That's kind of like where Hacker Valley got its name from.
Yep.
And he was like, "Hey man, I'm thinking about going to try to work for OpenAI." And I told Ron, I don't know if you remember this conversation. I was like, man, AI is freaking fake, is garbage. This is like 7 years ago or something. I don't remember when it was. It was something like that.
It
Probably
was
about 7, 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, this is trash. AI is total snake oil, right? And then like a couple of years ago, about 2.5 years ago, when OpenAI came out with some of the started innovating on the LLM side, like I think it might have been GPT-3 or something like that. And I hit Ron up. I was like, bro, I was wrong, bro. Like I said it was trash, but they actually working on something. So I was the ultimate skeptic because we seen AI waves over and over again. And I think that people are right to be skeptics because there's a lot of people that don't know what the heck they're doing, just slapping AI onto stuff. And that's always been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is now is that the outcomes that you can get with these LLMs and even some of the I'm doing everything. I'm doing music now. I'm dabbling around with art. But what's funny is I am an artist. I have written and I'm a musician. I play multiple music. So I know all these things. And so me using the things that leveraging what I'm already good at, leveraging what I know, and leveraging my ability to learn, I'm creating outcomes that is just crazy. I'm like, I can't believe I'm alive in this time. I feel it's amazing. This is the best time to ever be alive.
This 100% is, and I love the breakdown so much because like I've done the same thing. Like after we talked about dictating a lot, I started just going on walks and dictating, like I mentioned. But now I started to take my meeting transcripts and started to plug them in. So if I have a great sales call, I'm like, okay, this is the perfect thing to add to my knowledge base. Let me add this to my custom GPT, my custom Claude project, and then you can create blogs about it. Why do people love working with Hacker Valley? Perfect. I've had you on the podcast 3 times now. Now I can have a custom GPT for Marcus J. Carey and then start asking questions. help me prepare for my next episode with Marcus. If you come on a 5th time, now like all of the information that you get, it's based off of your experience if you're using it the right way, like you mentioned. I heard something from Gary Vee. He said that AI is not going to take people's jobs. People with experience that are using AI is going to come after everyone's job, because if you add the layer of experience on top, now everything becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And one of the big things when I started learning machine learning, I went to like stuff like Kaggle, did Coursera courses, and I'm like, oh, cool. I want to know a little bit more than just the LLM side, right? So how can I train my own models and things of that nature, right? Also fine tune some of the models and all that stuff as well. But one of the big things that you'll learn if you study machine learning is they talk about intuition, right? So intuition is one of the most critical parts of being successful at data science and machine learning. A lot of people forget that and they don't think about it. But in order to train models, the more intuition you have, the better. And so if you say whatever thing you knew, if you knew medical, something like that. So typically if people just go off into a data science or machine learning discipline on its own, what happens is they won't have intuition to the problem. So what the data scientist has to do is they have to try to develop intuition. So some of these data scientists go from company to company to company, and sometimes it's like a whole different set of things. And so what you have to do is you have to get somebody that has intuition, that knows the data and the science, to kind of help make better models. But where the magic happens is this. There's 2 ways to do this. There's take somebody with expertise and intuition and teach them how to do AI, machine learning, data science. Or you can take a data scientist and try to teach them all these different fields. My personal belief is that it's way easier to have your expertise in discipline and then learn the data science stuff in reverse. And even like now, because data science and machine learning used to be hard because you used to have to go through and you used to have to clean the data and do all this other stuff with the data, have a training set, have a test set, all that stuff split at 80-20. There's all these different things that you have to do from that perspective, right? But what's cool about AI, I mean, the LLMs is like with the stuff we're talking about training these, configuring these GPTs, because it's not really training. You're just giving it the data. It's unstructured data. So you don't have to format the data. You don't have to do some kind of Excel spreadsheet wizardry. You don't have to do some Python script to split up the data and normalize the data and all that stuff. You just give it the dang data.
Exactly.
And so that's the big thing. And so now I have intuition of what data that it can use. And I can also determine what outputs I want. I want it to be in JSON. I want you to do it in Markdown. I want you to do it however way it has to be. And then you can take that and you can change. And some people are calling agentic workflows and all that stuff. But some of the stuff they try to make sound hard, but it's all what we're saying here. It's like you're giving it data, you're giving it parameters, you're giving it what outcomes you want to make. And what's cool about it is since you can say this is the outcome I want, you can feed that into another system. RAG is a big thing. This retrieval augmented stuff is huge. But what's awesome about this is me playing so much with all these models. It makes me better at everything. It makes me freaking amazing. And that's what I want people to understand. So I'm like, hey, look, go try to make some music with AI. Go try to do some art with AI. Because doing all these things helps you understand it better. And when I go from making music to I go to making, code, I understand how the models work, because they all work very similar. Hopefully that makes sense.
Oh yeah. I need to jump in for a second and share some details about a special group that we've created for you, our listeners. We understand the importance of creativity in cybersecurity, and Hacker Valley has created a special Cyber Creators Mastermind. Each month, we meet and discuss how to break down technical concepts through stories, the intricacies and opportunities of using audio and video to highlight what's important in cybersecurity, and we share how you can use content to highlight the hard work that you put into your craft. You can check out the mastermind by visiting hackervalley.com/mastermind. We'd love to help unlock your creative potential and would love to see you there. one of the things that I recently did is I made a $3,000 investment, and I was like, I need to be able to write pretty much any language in coding, because sometimes, you know, the language of the web is JavaScript, and if you like typing, then you'll use TypeScript. My TypeScript game, it's all right. My JavaScript game is all right. My Python is really good. On the backend side, you know, you might want a Go backend, you might want a Python backend. So I hired a developer via codementor.com or .org, one of the two. I hired a developer via Code Mentor that was a polyglot. He knows every language like the back of his hand. So I did 10 sessions with them, all recorded, and I made a custom GPT that is tremendous at creating some files. So like I made this custom GPT that creates cursor rules files for me. So I'm like, hey, based off of what Jerome told me, write a cursor rules file, and then it gives me a cursor rules file. I put that into cursor, and then that guides the agent to write better code. And then so I've done the same for all these other AI coding assistants, and now I'm able to code in just about every language. And I feel like you could do the same with cybersecurity. Hire the best of the best, get their unique experience, especially if you're dealing with a hard, challenging problem, whether it be cloud, infrastructure, networking. People have the experience, and renting their time, I feel like it's very affordable when you record it, transcribe it, and use it for things like AI to help you with answering those questions over and over and over again.
100%, bro. Intuition. What you said, you have a subject matter expert, transcribe it, boom. But the thing is, this is why I tell people, the one thing is people think that you can just skip the whole intuition and knowing stuff part.
Yeah.
Like, even though I have AI at my disposal, I am diving deep into learning more about AI, more about coding and all that stuff. So the more you know, the better questions you can ask. I always tell people, it's just like Google. If I don't know a subject matter, the first time I would search it, I kind of like, all right, cool. I got a couple of gems. But then now I know how to better search for different terms. The more you learn about stuff, and that's the same with dealing with these models. The more, and sometimes instead of asking Google now, and this is why Google's shook right now, or even Stack Overflow, you can just go to chat and just ask it. You're like, hey, what's this?
Exactly.
And they just came out Claude Code. You seen that?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And so you can actually pretty much embed Claude Code into your project, and it will actually write code for you and like figure out and reason. It's crazy. But if you don't know how to code, you couldn't use it. Like, imagine dropping somebody that has never coded into Cursor to do what you're doing. They couldn't do it because they didn't put in all the hours of Python over the years. You know, paying Jerome three band
$3,000.
Yeah, but all that gave you more intuition.
So now you learn it, and then also take that experience and reuse it. 100%.
And the thing that I'm learning is that now I can ask. Chat's teaching me. This is crazy. All right, and I'm going to give you this. This is like Inception, right? Basically, when back then, like I said, when I was like, hey, bro, yeah, you were onto something. The first thing I did, I took. I remember OpenAI had this. I'm a TypeScript guy. I like Next.js. They had a Next.js project where you would put in a prompt. You put in I have an animal, and it would come up with animal names. It would come up with a name for your pet. So it was a Next project, and I was like, man, I want to change this to tell me cybersecurity stuff. So this is on the weekend playing around. All right, cool. I'm going to put in like DNS, and the prompt is going to tell me what DNS is. Now, for sometimes for a junior analyst, I was like, man, that'd be super handy, right? So what I did is I rewrote the OpenAI project, and I made it a cybersecurity agent where you could ask the agent. Then the next thing I did was I was like, hey, I could turn this into a back end, and I can give it any security question, and it probably can give me answers. Next thing I did is I gave it a lot of data, and then it would give me back analysis of the log events and all that stuff.
Oof. And
so what I did, and me and my coworker named Jonathan Echeverria, shout out to my man Jonathan, we took this, we wrote a Google Chrome extension that our flagship product where I'm at is called Gray Matter. So what we did is we actually I parsed the DOM with the extension, grabbed all the information about incidents, passed it over to GPT, and it actually gave really crazy analysis, like better than a human can write.
Mm-hmm.
It would take a human it'd take a human like 20 minutes to do something, and we did it under 60 seconds.
Oof.
And so we ended up building this platform internally. People were scared of putting information into chat or Claude.
Yep.
So we built our own chat GPT kind of thing, but we used all models. We ended up doing a process where you can actually opt out of any data retention and all this stuff on the major providers. So now nobody saves information. All the data is good. People worry about the data being used to train stuff. So opted out of all that stuff. Now we had our own internal, open AI like Chat GPT. We created our own playground. And what's interesting about this, we built this thing internally, and it's awesome. We call it Flex internally because we actually can use any model. We use any model in our system. And there's open, and right now there's a lot of people that are kind of doing this thing. Pick any model, run any model.
I'm assuming you were about to say open router.
Yeah, something like that. So what's awesome about what we did is now that we built that system, it actually helps us build itself better, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we're actually we're using it to actually build it better. And our whole team now, we have internally, we got over 1,000 users using the system.
Oof.
And at our company, we allowed everybody to use it, and we encourage the use for it, and it's made everybody better at what they do. And so that's the kind of mentality that I think most organizations need to figure out, because when we initially built this, and then we start asking questions, oh, how do I do this to make you better, right? It's like I said, from an inception perspective, like we built this system, and then it helps build it better, but then it helps us build other stuff better. And there's stuff like you said, there's this thing called Continue. You seen that? You know what that is? Yeah, Continue is it's like an open source. It's an open source Copilot, right? And so people are using that to actually, you can actually plug that up to multiple models too, right? So we built our own version of that. We built our own version of that too. So we got all these internal toolings that leverages LLMs to do all kind of different things. So so basically what and what's cool about that, the more you learn, the more intuition you have, and so the better that you can build these systems out. And I think that this is the future, and we're living in it.
I do some mentoring. I try not to mentor a bunch of people because I feel like I'm very particular about how things are done for me, and also how I spend my time as well. But I'm mentoring this 22-year-old kid right now. And whenever we get on the Zoom, I'm like, oh man, there's so much I have to show you that I don't even know where to start. So the last session that we had, I took him through Docker, I took him through DNS. I was like, hey, what happens when you type in Google to your web browser? He didn't know, so we had to go through that process. And then I spoke about HTTP, and I was like, well, I gotta tell you what difference between a GET and a POST request. And the list was just going on and on and on and on. And we haven't even touched AI yet. We're just on the fundamentals. Let's say after he gets done learning the fundamentals, there's a little window to learn about AI. I feel like you got to learn the fundamentals, like you're saying. It's about intuition. Where would you start with AI if you were going to go back and start right now?
I would do exactly what you're doing. I say, yeah, you could use AI, but what I would say is use AI to learn the fundamentals. That's how I would do it now is, bro, like I can remember when, because I'm a bit older than you. I remember there was no Wikipedia, but there was encyclopedias back in the day. And then there was you could get a CD back in the day or DVD. It had encyclopedias on that joint, right? And then Google came out. Oh man, I can go Google and I can go to Wikipedia. I can learn all this stuff, right? So I think now that you can probably go to AI and ask AI to teach you all these fundamentals,
right?
And I always start with fundamentals. And I've been called a snob sometimes because I talk about learn the fundamentals, but I don't know any other way to do it. I was watching, and you got Kobe up there, and what what I just heard an amazing quote from Gilbert Arenas, and so he was on an interview and they asked him, could Shaquille O'Neal ever be a coach of some team? And Gilbert Arenas said, I don't think Shaq will make a good coach. And because the reason why is because he said Shaquille O'Neal was born great. He was born big. He's born super athletic, and he really didn't have to work hard. He used the regular season to get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
Where he says Kobe is legendarily the hardest worker that's ever played in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
He used to go to the gym at 6 a.m. in the morning and be at the gym till 10 o'clock at night, every night. Like that was Kobe thing. He outworked everybody. He prepared. And so when I say by the time he got to the court, he was just doing intuition. It was just, he knew what to do. He had practiced these scenarios 1,000 times. And I'm saying that to say that some people are naturally gifted. Maybe they can code really good. Maybe they can do this other stuff real good. All that, right? But I think that everybody can learn the fundamentals by repetition. Now, and even sometimes I see really smart people believing that just because it's easy for you because you're smart, that it should be easy for everybody else.
Right.
Right. And sometimes it might be hard. Like if you're mentoring somebody and you can tell them something 3 times and they don't get it. And sometimes I don't know how they don't get it. But everybody learns in their own way.
Yep.
Right. And what I've found about AI can actually adapt to however way you learn, because you can ask it the question directly and AI will tell you the answer
mm-hmm.
in a way that you understand it. And you can ask repeatedly. My wife uses AI as much as I do, right? And my wife she's not even tech, but what she's found is that sometimes we may be embarrassed to ask questions.
Yeah. Maybe
we think it's something we should already know. I don't want to disappoint you, Ron. I don't want to ask you that question. I know you explained to me HTTPS 1,000 times and what port it's on, but I keep on forgetting.
Yeah.
With AI is always going to love you. It's not going to think you dumb. You don't have to worry about impressing it. You don't have to worry about none of that. And you can get those reps in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why in the book that you mentioned, we say, if you're going on an interview, get the rec, take your resume, put them both in there and tell it to give you a mock interview.
Exactly.
Like that's the stuff that you can do. You can get those reps in. You want to be the greatest of all time. And like there's a debate in basketball about who's better, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and all that stuff. But I think that what all those 3 players did is they were the greatest version of themselves.
Absolutely.
So, that's what we should strive for. How do you use AI? And that's what I'm using it. You're like, I suck at a lot of stuff. I have spurts where I can really drive hard and go hard on something. And then I learn all this stuff. What do I do with that? Because I'm on to something else like next week.
Exactly.
Like, I'm doing something else next week. Is it nice where I can go into a deep flow state and have an assistant to actually help me produce content out of when I'm in that deep flow state?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm all into this. I want to write a blog post. Heck, I want to write a book on it. How do I do this? All right. Based on my understanding of this subject matter, I think that I could fill the gap here and I can write a book about this real quick. Or even if it's a blog post, if it's a white paper. I just care about the outcomes, where other people are still focusing on all kind of weird stuff about did AI do it? Or, it looks sloppy because it's AI. But here's the deal. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yep.
Like the art piece that you have behind you, the art piece that I have right here, I don't care if everybody like it. Like, it's not even about that. Do I like it?
Yep.
And also, enough people that have the same taste as me, do they like it? Right? And so I'm saying all of this to say, people are hating on AI. People are not utilizing it. But I think that AI it's a tool and it's so versatile, it can do whatever you want to do. So what I would say, and in your case, I would teach them how to learn with AI. You can tell it like, oh, I'm a visual learner. I'm a this learner. AI can create visuals of diagrams for you. If you ask it, there's this thing called Mermaid.js, right?
I was going deep on Mermaid is the Mermaid plus AI is the best thing. It's the best thing.
Yeah. And so you can use Mermaid and you could put that into Obsidian and it will render all these diagrams, workflows, all this stuff for you. I mean, it's mind blowing to me that we're living in a state where you can just do that. Okay, explain TCP/IP model for me, and it will do everything. It'll draw the mermaid. It'll do all that stuff. I want to do a blog post on that too. And this is what I tell people all the time: like, oh, I can't write, or I don't have time to write, or that, bro. Like, it can help you write whatever you want to write, and that's how I feel about it, fam. I just feel like that I would get people to not worry about just the thing I like about it again is AI is going to meet you where you at. Like these chats, they're going to meet you where you at. You can ask the dumbest questions that you would be embarrassed to ask anybody else. If you can run your own model locally, you can do an Olama or run and use some model. Yep. Or there's a couple of different ones, right? AI Studio or whatever. Use one of those to ask the questions that you don't nobody ever see. And I think I told you about my dad. My dad was going through cancer treatment here, and luckily he went through it, and the cancer's in remission and all that stuff. I mean, the cancer he's beating back the cancer, is working out great, immunotherapy, all that stuff. But I uploaded all his results, his labs, his all that stuff, and by the time I got to the doctor, I knew what the doctor was going to say before it came out the doctor's mouth.
Yep.
So, and we focus on the negatives, and even like I hear FUD about how it's going to make attackers better and all this stuff. There's only so many things that attacker can do, fam. There's only so many things. It's more likely that blue teamers or defenders, it's more likely that we're going to get better than they're going to get some kind of crazy better. It's more likely that we're going to be able to analyze logs in formats and unformatted. Look at this log and then ask AI what that log is. Like, it's crazy. Like, you got to be kidding me. It don't even have to know what the freaking log is.
Yeah.
It will tell you, I've never seen this log before, but based on the data, it looks like this. And it's right, like at a high percent of times. It's probably right 80 to 90% of the time. And then people get pissed off because it's not right all the time.
Right.
Give me one human that's right all the time.
Then you'll meet a liar.
Yeah. Give me one human that don't hallucinate.
Exactly.
Me and you can have a conversation and we walk away both thinking we said something else. Oh, I thought you said this. Is that hallucination? I don't know.
It is.
Are we going to cancel all the humans now? We don't. We're just like that's what I'm saying. Like, and what's hilarious is one of the songs I wrote. I wrote a song I use AI to help generate the song. I use this program called Suno. A lot of people probably heard of it. I know you heard of it, Ron. Mm-hmm. And so I got this song called Hallucinations. And it actually talks about this same thing, about how people complain about AI and how it's not accurate. But I would say that, is far more accurate than we are. It's way faster. And what's awesome about it is that you can use AI to do quality assurance or quality control for other AI agents.
Yes.
I can create a QA agent to validate what the other agent output was.
Exactly.
And so we're living in the future, bro, and I'm so happy about it.
So I was going to ask a lot of questions at the end, like, hey, what advice would you give? No need. Like you said, if you have any question, AI is a great starting point. I think that it's an amazing time. You could even upload your drawings. Like, let's say your best way to communicate is through drawing. You could draw it on a piece of paper, upload it to the AI, and ask it to, give you the information that you're interested in based off of that drawing. I think when it comes to learning right now and upping your game or just getting good at something, the excuses have already been dwindled down because of all the training and education that's out there. But now with AI, there's really nothing that's in anyone's way to up level themselves, their community, their work. It's beautiful. For anyone that hasn't already bought Hacker Inc., you got to check it out. It's in the show notes or description, wherever you're listening or watching. You also got to stay up to date with Marcus, because Marcus is always dropping projects publicly, but also, as you heard, he's got some internal tools that he's using. Marcus, we got to do this again. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for jumping on so abruptly. And with that, we will see everyone next time.